Penn State took a bit of a break, but they are back in the saddle for recruiting. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. Ryan Snyder with us for another commitment video. Ryan, where are we going today? Who are we talking about for the latest Penn State football commitment?
I don't know if I'd call that a break, T. Frank. It was 4 days or 5 days or whatever it was. But now Penn State gets their tight end that they've been after for a long time, Cooper Terwilliger, 6'4.5", 215, out of Pierre, South Dakota, T.F. Riggs High School. This one has been one of Taylor Mauser's top guys for a long time. He picked up an offer from Iowa State April 16, 2024. So we're talking almost 2 years ago. And really, he's been recruited by them longer than that. I think if you go back, I think he visited Iowa State twice. I want to say November 2024. And then again, this past season, I want to say September. So the relationship's gone on for a while now. Took a ton of visits in Nebraska. I think a lot of my colleagues, really before he came on our radar, thought he was leaning towards Nebraska this past fall. Like I said, I think he took 7 visits there. And he ended up dropping the top 4 in the fall of Michigan, Nebraska, Iowa State, and Iowa. Well, of course, Matt Campbell comes to Penn State then, and that changes things up quite a bit.
Yeah.
For his recruitment. He was one of the first guys I think Mauser offered really once he got here. And I believe he visited, I want to say, that first junior day. So it was around January 24, I want to say. And then, Notre Dame offers 3 days later, which made this one a little more interesting than I think we expected. He ended up going to Notre Dame weekend of March 20th to the 22nd range. And, he had a lot to think about. Notre Dame came on strong, and obviously South Bend, Indiana is a lot closer to South Dakota. But then he came back to Penn State last week for a 4-day visit. And I think that's really what kind of sealed the deal. Went home, thought about it with his family and all those things, and, just decided to call up Penn State today and make his move. So this is a big one for Mauser and really for the entire staff. He's actually the highest ranked commit now in the 2027 class. Deontay Fleming actually is a little higher. Of course, he's 2028, but Rivals has him at number 239 nationally and number 11 at tight end. The industry ranking has him at number 194 and 9th at tight end, which puts him just above Landon Bloom, who, of course, committed just about a week ago. So here we go.
Yeah. As you mentioned, one of the 4 stars added to the class here in the spring of 2026. If you are happy about that, the Penn State's getting some 4 stars on the radar and are committed, please like the video and subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Helps us out to help let people know about these commitments and gets people excited for spring football. That's the other thing is we always see this where everyone's like, oh, wait, spring football's here. And then the blue-white game rolls around and you get excited for that. But really, it's cranking all year round with Penn State football. So make sure you like the video and subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Always appreciate the support. Ryan, you mentioned the length of this recruitment. And I want to ask you kind of a nuanced question here. Is there a difference between the top tight end target and the one with the longest recruitment? Because it feels like this one's an important one for Taylor Mauser. But when you're adding in a bunch of guys that maybe they're still doing evaluations on in the Northeast and guys they're developing relationships with, kind of in this sector of the recruiting world, how do you view where Terwilliger fits? Because, I viewed him as the top tight end for them, but I don't know if that's true or if that's, a product of just the length of the recruitment.
Well, this is look at the tight end depth chart, right? They have 2 guys who, of course, they brought here that are seniors and they'll be out soon. And then Rapley, of course, and even Finn Fermanic, they're, I believe, redshirt juniors this year, right? And of course, if Rapley or even Fermanic have a great year, they could go on. So when you look at that depth chart, I predicted we did a class kind of projection story, I don't know, about a month ago or so now. And I think that 3 tight ends is realistic. Now, to get 3 high school tight ends in the class, a little difficult, right? It's kind of like 2 quarterbacks or 3 running backs, right? It's kind of...
Penn State's done it before.
Yeah. I can see it being maybe more 2 tight ends in high school and then maybe a portal tight end. Well, right. That's down the road. We'll worry about that later. But my point with all that is Terwilliger has absolutely been 1A, 1B, however you kind of want to look at it. I think Parker Newman's kind of come on lately out of Tennessee as a guy that I believe Penn State's really excited about, and Tommy Douglas as well out of the Hun School in New Jersey. Those three, and I don't want to forget Sean Curry and Colt Lumpers too. I mean, they're all five of them, could commit tomorrow if they wanted to, and so they need numbers. But this, I would say, I would still kind of put Terwilliger at the top just from the perspective of he has a lot of the things that I think Mauser wants in a tight end, which is kind of like Frank, you're more the scout than me, but to me, kind of reminds me of Jesse James a little bit, where he's not like the freak of an athlete that Mike Gesicki was, or a Tyler Warren, but he does a lot of things right, physical, can block, can do all those kind of things. Go ahead.
And he's got the right physical abilities. We can get to that in a second, but when you look at the way the offense is and what they want their tight ends tailored to do, I think he doesn't need to have a complete offensive skill set from an athletic perspective to still be really good in this offense. You can make the same conversation about Ben Bramer, who maybe doesn't have the most, at 6'7", doesn't have the elite twitch or lateral agility, but does it matter if you're running a bunch of deep overs, posts, and seam routes? Because you need a runaway freight train running in the secondary if you're a tight end. Speaking of, awkward transitions from runaway freight trains to running away from tax day, deadlines, and all that stuff for you as we get closer and closer and closer. Depending on when you watch this, it could be tax season still, or it could not be tax season, and you might be filing an extension, and you might be like pulling your hair out. Don't do any of those things. Ryan, do you know where they should go?
Of course. Freedom Financial, right?
Perfect. Yeah. Freedom
Awesome.
Financial Tax. Our friend Josh, who's a fan of the show, fan of Ryan specifically, and he loves football. He loves recruiting information, and he loves helping people out. Like, truthfully, I think that's something that he is really important to him, is not just getting your business, but doing a good job for you and being of service to the community. And that community in particular are his fellow Penn State football fans and BWI subscribers. So if you are really nervous about doing your taxes, you hate it because it feels like, oh no, what if I'm lying and I don't know it because taxes are hard and I filled something in incorrectly? Or if you're a business and you want to do something with, you want to start up a business, or you're just tired of having that mental burden on you, so you can, you want to offload that to somebody else. Any of these situations, Freedom Financial Tax can help you out. They also have a new business startup package. So everything you need to get a business running efficiently. They can even do payroll and stuff like that for you as well. And they'll help you correspond with the IRS, complete tax situations. And they can even, if you're like a gig worker or a freelancer, they can help you with your quarterly taxes and all those things that I've never had to do because that's all really hard. So I just worked for a paycheck my whole life. But if you want their help with your tax situation, 866-401-1090 or freedomfinancialtax.com. Make sure you told them that you came here from the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel and the Committed video series. Ryan, do we have any, we talked about athletic caveats here. He's not a guy that's ever camped at Penn State. We don't have any of those things that we're looking for. So what we have, 6'4.5", 215. And to me, the biggest thing that I see from him, vertical presence as a pass catcher and a guy that is going to be violent with the ball in his hands. That's what you're looking for in a guy that you want to catch the ball, great in contested catch situations. Like, this is pretty consistent. Great hands, huge frame, long levers, long arms, can jump up to get the ball, and he is a vertical presence. He can run fast in a straight line. That's what they want in this offense. That's what they're looking for from their tight ends. Now, the more you can do, the better, but this isn't a situation where Penn State wanted the best athlete possible. The previous staff was looking for the freakazoids, right? I'd say even then, the guy that was maybe the least freaky of the athletes was Tyler Warren, who was just a good football player and made a lot of plays like you're seeing from Cooper Terwilliger on the screen right now. I don't think he's Tyler Warren, but that's more of the athletic mold that he's in. Laterally, I don't think he's dynamic, and I do think there's a little bit of tightness in his frame, but you see the way he runs, you see the way he's physical through contact and things like that. And he's a good blocker. So there's all of those things involved. If you can catch and you can block, you can play tight end. So to me, he's a Y tight end. He's the guy that you don't need to be dynamic in short area because you're not going to be asking him to block out of the backfield in that way. You're going to ask him to do a lot of what you see here. crossing routes, deep overs, posts, verticals out of the slot, and he can do all those really well. And a guy you're going to run behind, I think that there's a lot of work to do in his blocking, but the DNA of him as a blocker, he's gonna hit you and he's gonna let you know about it. So that's kind of the view I got of him, Ryan. I don't think he's the complete tight end in the sense of all of the athletic things, but he's exactly what they're looking for in this offense.
He's Jesse James.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. You correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what stands out to me. And I do apologize to you, Frank. We have a 5.140 from 2 years ago, right? So you would think that that's realistically could be a 4.8, somewhere in that ballpark nowadays.
That's about what he looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's what pops to me. Not the freaky Mike Gesicki, but Jesse James is, I just feel like a pretty good comp. So, a guy that they trust, great family, all those kind of things, guy who's going to work hard, do all the little things right. And that's whenever I've been able to ask about him, that's always the first thing that everyone mentions is just like they have full faith in him coming into this program and, really doing all the little things to get himself to maximize his ability. And at the end of the day, if you have a locker room of guys who are all maximizing, what they can become, that's a sign of a good program. So we will find out with time. But there's a reason Mauser's been on for so long. I'll trust him on that one.
There's some personality, and I mean football personality of the way you display yourself on the field. That does remind me a little bit of Andrew Rapley. I think you're talking in terms of Jesse James from the style of play, of his movement skills. I think that's fair. But his aggressiveness, his nastiness, I think those are, a little bit closer in line to what we've seen out of a guy like Andrew Rapley, who has just been so physical as a run blocker and probably can do more than his size would indicate in, going forward. And I think to me, like Terwilliger has a good blend of those two things, and will be, I'm interested to see, because despite being 6'5" and maybe just a shade under 6'5", I do think he has some pad level issues and he has a little bit of balance issues because he's a little bit tight, which again, I think you mentioned Jesse James, something similar, but 6'7", like there's a difference there between somebody who is almost 6'8" and somebody who's a shade under 6'5". I think that I want to see how he develops. I want to see how they mold him in the weight program to see if there's more to unlock. Because I think there could be more to unlock from kind of a holistic sense, that maybe he gets closer to like a Pat Fryermuth, than kind of just a one style, one speed vertical threat kind of guy.
Makes sense, man. Listen,
all right,
hey, that's what coaching's for, right? Yeah. Especially at the Division I level. So it makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, so that'll do it for now. Cooper Terwilliger is a Penn State Nittany Lion. The Nittany Lions get one of their top targets on their board, one of their long-standing commits, and we'll tell you about the next one that pops when that happens. So it is spring, and you're going to be outside. You're going to be enjoying the nice weather. So if you want to make sure you see these videos and you don't want to constantly be checking on us, make sure you subscribe and you enable notifications. That way you get a notification when one of these pops, and then you can watch it and you feel good, like you're always up to date on what's going on with Penn State football. The other thing you can do is subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for 50% off. That's going on right now through spring. That's not going to last forever. So you can get the site plus Rivals plus On3 plus a year of The Athletic, which also gives you access to Dane Brugler's The Beast, which is great for NFL draft heads. All of that just for subscribing to Blue White Illustrated. So make sure you do all that stuff if that tickles your fancy. I'm Thomas Frank Carr for Ryan Snyder. We'll be back next time news breaks from Blue White Illustrated.